Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Welcome to the next phase. Boy, I've got something for you here in this latest Moon Lambo Hot Jam. I'm going to share with you perspective from 11 different XRP chart analysts, and you're going to notice something pretty early on in this video. Tons of analysts are coming to either the same or very similar conclusion. Now, this is what interests me, and this is why I love putting these videos together. It's a lot of labor, but it's a labor of love, though. I'm not bitching about it. It's not a bitch fest. Not this part, anyway. I love doing this. I track tons of analysts who I find to be reputable. And then, of course, every now and then I'll throw in somebody who I just came across because I like to hear, perspectives from people who may be a naysayer. It's actually increasingly hard to come across those who think that XRP is not going to do well this cycle. But always happy to put in the contrarian point of view. Always happy to share perspectives from people, even if they're new to me, and I typically will just note that's the case. But what I keep finding is that in this particular moment, tons of analysts coming out of the woodwork being like, whoa, we've hit an inflection point, and there's this increased level of confidence that XRP is about to go. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean it's today, tomorrow, next week, and all of these analysts, even if they have the similar perspectives as to where this is ultimately going to go, meaning price discovery or not, even if they agree price discovery, they might squabble over what the timeline is more probable to look like. But that's okay, because it is a matter-of-fact statement, as far as I'm concerned, that no analyst on the planet can consistently, accurately predict what a timeline will be, even if they've accurately identified what chart formation is playing out. So that part I don't care about, but that's part of the discussion, and that's fine. That's all I'm saying on that. But the key takeaway, a key takeaway anyway, is that we have hit this inflection point. It's seen in the charts, and you'll see there's a little bit of variation as to exactly where people are drawing trend lines, so on and so forth. But the exciting part is that tons of analysts are coming to the same conclusion. And anytime I see a ton of analysts that I follow coming to the same or similar conclusion, I get excited, because that is not normally the case. Most of the time, there's indecision. There's uncertainty, a wide variety of opinions in terms of what might be probable, in particular in the short term. And to be clear, not that any of them have wavered in terms of what happens on the higher time frame. Big picture, yeah, XRP still breaks to the upside. But if the next step is, hey, so and so has to occur, has that occurred? What I'm increasingly seeing, and this is why I'm excited to share this video with you, the answer is yes. The answer is actually yes, and it just happened. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, as I record this video, it is 1:22 a.m. Central Time, so it's now Monday, April 28th, 2025. And by the way, almost everything I'm covering here is XRP specific. And again, I think I just said this, but 11 XRP chart analysts, their perspectives and commentary will be included in this video here. But as I record this video, XRP is $2.27, Bitcoin at $94,435. And if you're looking at the screen, you might notice that XRP, yet again, is the #1 performing coin out of the top 10 coins by market cap. Well, isn't that something? The answer is yeah, it actually is. So here's the 24-hour chart for XRP. Just look at what that is visually. Compare that to Bitcoin. Not quite the same. It's just fascinating. And Bitcoin has been showing strength in recent days, so not to poo-poo that. I'm just saying that XRP in particular, my God, it just keeps showing ridiculous strength. See, that's why this coin is the #1 performing coin out of the top 100 coins by market cap since the election. XRP is literally #1 in that category. It's truly impressive. Take a look at this post by Hunter Horsley. He's the CEO over at Bitwise. And he shared this. He says, Bitcoin at $94,000, yet Google searches for Bitcoin near long-term lows. This hasn't been retail driven. Institutions, advisors, corporates, and nations have come into the space. The types of investors buying Bitcoin is expanding. Now, folks, there is truth to this, I believe. Now, of course, if you look back to this biggest move to the upside, well, visually the most obvious one right here, that was last year after the election. And it's true, there were obviously tons of Google searches for Bitcoin at that time, and XRP, of course, the whole market booming at that particular moment. And so a lot of that was retail. But he's talking about recently, XRP, or not XRP, Bitcoin now getting back above $94,000. That would be this most recent part right here. Not a lot of retail driving it. That is that perspective right there. That is in line with additional perspective I've been sharing for much of the last week, highlighting that what we've seen in April is retail holders capitulating for much of April, and whales and institutions purchasing the fear, which is to say the panic sellers, they're handing over their coins to the whales. That's what's been happening right here. These are the types of buyers that don't get wrong-footed. This cycle is not done unless this time is different, but those are famous last words. I don't think this time's different. Now let's talk about XRP for the rest of the video, just about 100% at least. Just kick things off here. Here's a post from chart analyst Peppa. He said, "Holy S, XRP bears are effed." And this is, of course, an XRP price chart. And you can see that he's noting that XRP has broken out above this trend line. And he shared this post literally Sunday afternoon, just yesterday. And the last time he talked like this was at a very notable time, and he was right about this. XRP had come up a little bit in price, but look at this. He's showing this, and I showed tons of analysts. There are so many analysts that I followed throughout 2024 that would share similar charts. This is showing XRP consolidating for almost 7 freaking years. Almost 7 freaking years. Then the election happens, then it bursts to the upside. And so it started to go, XRP was 69 cents at the time, November 12th, 2024. And he just said, "Holy S, bears are effed." That's the same message, of course. He said, "XRP bi-weekly breaking out of a 2,500-day consolidation pattern, just like in 2017. He does not normally talk like that. He does not normally say that. Look at that dirty whore mouth he's got over there. But he was right, wasn't he? And tons of analysts were saying similar things, and I'm just noting that he said something similar right here. This is an actual breakout right here. This is a moment, and I'm seeing tons of analysts agreeing this actually is an inflection point. Now, of course, just because tons of analysts can't come to the same or similar conclusion, it's not a guarantee that what they think is probable to occur will occur, because sometimes in life the improbable occurs. But which way do you want to bet? I mean, if you're looking at this, look at the price of stuff going up, including on the institutional side. And by the way, I made it very clear over the last week multiple times. Institutional money flowing into XRP like crazy, dominating Bitcoin, dominating Ethereum on the institutional side. Not even close. Like Bitcoin last week was down 6 million. XRP was up $37.7 million on the institutional side. Buck wild numbers. Absolutely buck wild numbers. So all that to say though, I just gotta ask, what do you think happens next then? I mean, to me, it just seems like the biggest freaking no-brainer. And not that I say this with like 100% certainty, but if you're asking me what do I think is probable, oh gosh, emphatically I state price discovery. I don't pretend to know one. I don't know if it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, but is it coming? Yes. There's too much confluence here. There's way too much confluence, everything perfectly aligning. The tariff crap's going to end on top of it all. Yeah. Here's another post. This is from chart analyst Melius. XRP USD chart here. He says, "XRP, is it time? It begs for volume to arrive." And you'll notice here a trend line, which he is pointing out, and this is going back to the beginning of 2025. And by the way, Peppa's, his is the one that he drew here is going back basically to the beginning of the year. See how it kind of came down? Obviously, price been consolidating. So that going back basically to the beginning of the year, or you could argue, well, I mean, technically XRP had hit the all-time high, so halfway through January, whatever, roughly speaking. Okay, same time frame here for Melius. Look at where he drew the trend line. Look at that. And he's like, it begs for volume. Well, what's he talking about there? Then he drew this trend line. So these red and green bars are right here where I'm moving my mouse. That's the trend line. He's saying, hey, and there will be deviations. That's why you can see they slightly poke above. But he's saying that's the trend. So he's, and by the way, to be clear, and I'm not a chart guy, but you don't need to be one to understand some of these very basic things. As volume becomes less and less, and the price range and volatility tightens more and more and more, that's what happens before a breakout one way or another. So that in and of itself doesn't tell you that the price will go up, but something's going to happen. So then I just got to ask, is it more probable price goes down when it breaks, or is it more probable it goes up when it breaks? Well, I think up, and I think unless the entire market falls apart, when XRP breaks, it's going to the upside. That's my bet. That's my for fun bet. I'm allowed to do that. It's my channel, damn it. I do what I want. Then we have the relative strength index here at the bottom, RSI. And look at this. It's basically XRP recently, it's just been in overbought territories. People have been panic selling. And then you see the institutional money flow into XRP, as I've been showing you. Like, come on, guys. Could it get more freaking obvious? Could it? Oh my God. Yes, actually it could. The only way that it could get more obvious to draw people's attention in, say XRP right here, this is the time, is if you had a wild and wacky arm flailing inflatable tube man, like in front of the tire shop. That would do it. I guess that's one way. That's all I can think of off the top of my head, though. Here you got chart analyst Mikey Bull Crypto, XRP USD chart here. XRP next phase will be expansion after the current retest. Now you might notice that he drew this, and look at this trend line right here, symmetrical triangle, going back to the beginning of the year, noting that it is poked out above. Do you see the recurring theme here? Individual analysts coming to roughly the same conclusion over and over and over again. I'm telling you, folks, this does not normally happen. If you consider each analyst their own to be like an individual point of data that you could plot, like they're all coming to the same conclusion. Like it's a bunch of data points that are saying, yeah, this is going to go. And so that's why, as long as you track the analysts that are worth their salt, it doesn't mean they're always going to be right about everything. But yeah, you can come to a reasonable suspicion about what is probable. That's why I track so many freaking chart analysts. And it's very time consuming, but it's a labor of love and I have fun tracking this stuff. And I found after multiple years doing this stuff that, yeah, actually you can glean some very interesting information out of this. And so it's interesting. So like I do watch tons of individual YouTube channels from analysts. I read all sorts of posts on X, and like that's interesting. But I think it's even more interesting to see the sum of those positions like plop down into a video, and that's why I make videos like this. Here's a post from Simdroid. Now, this is an analyst I'm not familiar with, but after all the excitement today and so many posts looking the same, I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what happens if I search for XRP. And so sometimes I'll just search for XRP to see what pops up in my feed on X, or I'll type in XRP price, something like that. And then I'll come across more posts. And if there are negative ones, I will throw them in the video. If there are negative posts, it's just that they're so hard to find now. Everybody's so afraid to put their neck on the line after XRP just completely resulted in so many analysts having egg on their face. They were like, XRP's going to zero, it's never going to run. And then it was the best performing coin so far this cycle. Again. So it's hard to find those posts now. Happy to share them when they pop up, but I just keep finding more posts like this. And so this is an analyst I'm not familiar with. He's got 133,000 followers, so pretty big. And he said, likely the final pump for XRP before a top, in my opinion. Okay, I don't have an opinion on whether or not when this goes, it's the top, but he does think that this is the inflection point, very obviously. But that would be in line with what happened last market cycle and the cycle before that. We had an initial major pump, and then about half a year of waiting, and then it went again. So I don't know for sure if that's going to be the case. Some analysts think it's more likely it actually will bleed into the fall. And okay, maybe they're right. I don't know. Either way, I still think it's coming here, folks. I just don't think that it makes reasonable sense to believe that the most probable outcome is that, yeah, it's done. It's time for a bear market. I just don't see that. All these whales going to get wrong-footed, everything else, liquidity rising, you name it. Just, I don't see it. I don't think that's the most probable. Here's another post. This is from Dark Defender, and if you look at his chart here, and I'll go back to Simdroid, looks pretty similar, doesn't it, in terms of where he drew these lines? Very similar. Isn't that something? Look at them. Look, I'm just noticing the similarities. A lot of analysts coming to the same or similar conclusion over this. Look, it jumps out at me. And so here Dark Defender wrote, people are getting distracted, but don't be. Next week might be volatile. XRP will continue to climb to the top. I will make a projection for you for the bull run. And so showing obviously tons of confidence this goes way higher. And so he's showing a next major move coming sooner than later, up to $5.85. He's been talking about that level for a long time. He still firmly believes it's coming. And that wouldn't be the top for the cycle, just to be clear, but he does believe that's coming. Here's a post from another analyst who I'm not familiar with, but I came across because I was just like, okay, tons of analysts saying stuff. I wanted to find some more perspectives from others who I was like, is there anybody that wants to go strong against this? Because I would absolutely share it if I could find it. I can't find it, though. I mean, other than, so there have been a couple examples. I shared one yesterday from eGreg Crypto. He thinks that we're going potentially, anyway, to $1.25 before moving to the upside. But even then, he still believes on a higher time frame. We're going much higher. Actually, I got one from him later in the video. So again, not afraid to share that stuff. It's just hard to find. So when I think of low price expectations, I got that. What else do I have? Peter Brandt, but he suffers from XRP derangement syndrome. He's like a $1.07 or something. Slightly more than what Freedom costs. Everybody knows Freedom costs $1.05. Other than that, I don't know. What do we get? Like some analysts warning it could go down to like $1.90 as like a slight deviation. There's one analyst, I can't think of who it is now, that said, hey, there's a reasonable chance it goes down to somewhere around like $1.60, but then rockets out of there. That's about it, though. So anyway, we'll see. But anyway, so Science here wrote XRP 1 week bull flag, $10 top target for me. So another analyst still calling for double-digit price action. I'll frickin' take it. By the way, here's a post from chart analyst JD. He responded to Peppa, who was saying, holy yes, bears are effed. And he wrote, I'm ready, brother. So he certainly agrees. And he shared one of his posts indicating that he thinks that XRP, could go 20x. Or, well, he didn't say it like that. He was saying stochastic RSI was above a key level of 80. And he said last time that happened, XRP went 20x. So, and here I can make this full screen for a second here. I shared this the other day. Here's a new one from him, though. He simply wrote, and this is just showing instilled confidence, right? Not deviating. He says, the biblical candle that is coming can be seen from space, which I'm taking more massive profits. Dumb money will be pissed. Laughy emoji. The historical crash that will wreck the majority will be able to view from another galaxy. And there will, look, tons of people are going to get wrong-footed buying the top. That's just going to happen. That happens with everything. Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, down the list. The people that have been here for years, they're the ones that are going to get rewarded the greatest, I mean, in terms of return on investment. So, like, isn't that how it should be, frankly? The people that have been here the longest, showing the conviction, steadfast, especially after all the SEC nonsense? I think so. I think that's fair. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto Michael. It says, XRP should begin its next leg up very soon. When XRP pumps, it pumps hard and fast. That's what she said. Giggity. Most crypto influencers told you to sell your XRP below $2. Be careful who you listen to. Okay, I don't know who's actually advocating to sell other than the random people suffering from XRP derangement syndrome. Who are these people that literally told you to sell? Now, there are some that warned, hey, price could go lower. I saw some of that stuff. You can find some haters always saying, yeah, I should sell. I don't think that it was most crypto influencers. In fact, most crypto influencers, even if they hate XRP, they're afraid to talk about it right now because they've been so wrong-footed, and they don't want to be on the wrong side of history. Because if you're crapping all over XRP right now, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to be deleting posts in the future, but the internet is forever, and they're going to be some screen grabs. Just saying. Here's a post from Charting Guy. XRP held weekly EMA ribbon perfectly. And so he still believes firmly, and I think I highlighted this maybe yesterday, he believes XRP is going to peak probably around $8, which is one of the more conservative predictions from analysts that I follow. But maybe he's right. I don't know. Either way, that would just be a massive burst, considering that the bottom of the cycle was 28 cents in June of 2022. That's a big-ass move. That is a big-ass move. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK from April 26. XRP will move to $2.60-ish soon, I feel. And I shared that the other day. He reposted that and wrote, market red, XRP green, I see you. And that was on Sunday morning. So obviously the confidence still there. Here's a post from eGreg Crypto. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a XRP BTC chart. If you want to pause here and read it, go ahead. It's a good post. And so even though he did call for yesterday for XRP potentially to hit $1.25, to be clear, he's still a bull on higher time frames. He still thinks that XRP, even down here, he said, this means XRP, based on the full analysis, which again, you'd have to read it, just again, for the sake of time, this means XRP USD could range from $9.50 to $27 based on the BTC USD performance. So he does happen to hold a minority position in that, at least out of the analysts that I follow, the only ones that I can, again, think are saying it's possible to go that low. There's Peter Brandt, but he suffers from XRP derangement syndrome. He's talked about $1.07. Other than that, it's eGreg Crypto, maybe down to $1.25. But, sometimes minority positions end up being correct. I talked about that, I think, literally yesterday. So that's certainly not like a dig at all. Certainly not. And he's, again, like I said, still very bullish on a higher time frame here. And if he's right, I will absolutely give credit where it's due, because most analysts that I follow don't think anything even close to that. So if he's right, he gets extra credit, frankly. But we'll see here, A lot of times it's just like truth is somewhere in between. But look, I don't know about you folks, but it's so obvious when there are so many analysts coming to the same or similar conclusion about this being like just a key moment, an inflection point. And XRP is going to go. So again, that's not some sort of guarantee for many of them that it happens today or tomorrow, but something just happened. And this is not the type of confluence amongst XRP analysts that I see every day. And when I find it, I share it. I don't normally see this. And sometimes what they think is most probable doesn't occur, like I said. But if you just had to bet based on what that group of analysts says is probable, vote for or against that, if you vote for it rather than against it, you'll be right most of the time. That's been my experience following the analysts that I follow for years now. So I'm going with that. I think ultimately number go up, and we're going to get ours. Price discovery, face-melting price action, and I won't be surprised if these analysts that are calling for double-digit price action this cycle end up being correct. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.